Around 1 hour into the Bengali film Dadar Kirti, we have this familiar set piece. The simpleton, good-for-nothing guy, trapped in a situation that would lead him to further mockery.
ছাড় পোকা কামড়ালো বলে ভজনেতে একটু জনে সেকেন্ড হয়ে গেল, ফার্স্ট হতে পারলো না। কি বললে? ভজন? না, আমার বলে না। কই, এসো এসো এসো। এবার আমাদের কেদার চন্দ্র আমাদের একটি ফার্স্ট ক্লাস ভজন গেয়ে শোনাবে।
The stage is set for a tested and tried comic relief for the characters as well as the audience.
এটা যে আমি বাজাতে জানি না। ও, তাও তো বটে। তোমার তো আবার ওই সেই তারপরে শুনে গাও বেশ। ঠিক আছে, সরস্বতী ম্যানেজ করে দেবে। হ্যাঁ, সরস্বতী, বসো বসো বসো, বাজাবি, বসো। তবে একটু আস্তের উপর কেউ, বুঝলি? আস্তে, আচ্ছা।
And then Taposh Pal's Kedar comes up with the most soul-steering rendition of Tagore's Chorono Dhurite Diyogo Amare in Hemanto Mukherjee's voice.
আমার মা গায়। থামলে কেন বাবা? গাও।
Amar Ma Gan, my mother sings this song, says Kedar, having sung the first line and then continues. We get mesmerized like the characters we watch on the screen. The tone and impact of the proceedings on screen change for all suddenly. A film that was immense fun this far shapeshifts in its emotional impact as we realize how a person worthless on the surface can hold such purity in voice and heart. You feel the warmth of the setup choking your throat as you feel for Kedar, someone whose failures you have been enjoying this long. Kedar need not have mentioned his mother before the song, but as he does, the love and connection of the mother and the son gets established without any flashbacks or informational dialogues. We instantly know the person better. And that was the Midas touch of the man we lost a few days back. Tarun Majumder at his best, the last of the Mohicans of the golden era of Bengali cinema. He imposes no thrills or frills to have you root for his hero, no manipulation through dialogues as conveniently used in mainstream cinema. He uses the often ignored beauties around us, the small reasons for joy in our day-to-day living, to let us celebrate life through his movies. This is our humble tribute to celebrate that man and his golden touch that has presented us with overwhelming memories across his fascinating filmography. Kedar from Dadar Kirti isn't the only supposedly worthless character that Tarun Majumder celebrated in his cinema. His protagonists were mostly counter-conventional credentials against social conformism. Be Sanjoy, the efficient doctor in Kache's Shorgo without proper certifications, Anup Kumar's Boshonto in palatak who cannot settle to the mediocrity of family life, or Shomit Bhonjo in Fuleshwari, a rail signaller in a remote station who can compose and sing eternal melodies. Or think about Uttam Kumar's reporter Rajot in Chawa Pawa, desperately looking for a scoop. He wants to get hold of a capital to become the owner of a newspaper, something he lets go when it is finally within his reach. Chawa Pawa was the first directorial venture for Majumder. As a part of Jaktrik, the trio consisting of Majumder, Dilip Mukherjee and Shochin Mukherjee, inspired from Hollywood classic It Happened One Night, that was also adapted in Hindi as Chori Chori before Chawa Pawa and Dil Hai Ke Manta Nahi much later. Unlike the other three films, Chawa Pawa doesn't have the heroine running towards her lover and falling for another man. Here we have Suchitra Sen running away from an unwanted suitor, and thus she has more time and space for the romance to flourish in a less exaggerated way, and more importantly, not disloyal to her former lover. It is this classic value system that the Tarun Majumder films thrived on. The conflict often entwined between social and familial connections on one hand and a romantic angle on the other. The resolution that would mostly let the romance overcome all the hurdles and also resolve the familial dismays. Or like in Nimantran, the romance would succumb to its surroundings, be left unfulfilled only to emerge as one of the finest love stories we have ever seen on screen. The romance not evolving out of thin air, but a witness to its time and space, aware of its surroundings and not indifferent to it like mostly in mainstream, an integral part of the ecosystem. बड़े अच्छे लगते हैं ये धरती, ये नदियाँ, ये रहना और तुम.
हम तुम कितने पास हैं, कितने दूर हैं चांद सितारे. सच पूछो तो मन को झूठे लगते हैं ये सारे, मगर सच्चे लगते हैं ये धरती, ये नदिया, ये रहना और तुम.
Like Satyajit Ray, Tarun Majumder's films retained the essence of Bengaliness at its core, explored the Bengali society without any intellectual analysis, presenting it as it is with a sense of indulgent care and tolerance. It is this tolerance that makes us fall in love with Moushumi Chatterjee's Balika Bodhu or Ayan Banerjee's Shriman Prithviraj. It is this love that doesn't make Shondha Roy's Fuleshwari or Suchitra Sen's Munju a shrew that needs to be tamed, but coming of age woman to be admired and cared for. The wanderlust and bohemian nature common to many Bengalis kept coming back in his films. That too started in Chawa Pawa, and of course reaches its crescendo in Palatak, film for which Uttam Kumar had wished to play the lead, but Tarunbabu insisted in none other than Anup Kumar, even at the cost of driving away most of his producers. It was his disregard to conformism that reflected in his characters.
জীবনপুরের পথিক রে ভাই, কোনো দেশে শাকিন নাই, কোথাও আমার মনের খবর পেলাম না, কোথাও আমার মনের খবর পেলাম না.
If it was the prelude of Charanodhorite that stalls at the mention of the mother in Dadar Kirti, a bullock cart cuts off Anup Kumar's Boshanto as he sings Jibonpurer Pothik Re Bhai. His characters always interjected by the society or family, establishing the Bengali living. Please step aside from the road and sing, says the man on the cart. Boshanto queries about where he is heading to and gets on the cart, changing his travel route just like that. And then the song comes back as Palatak, the name of the film, in majestic font spread across the screen. Font designs that extensively impressed Satyajit Ray, as he had acknowledged many times. Satyajit Ray, whose Pother Pachali inspired Majumder so much that he had initiated road campaigns imploring the Bengali mass to watch the film in theatres. The amusing quirks and idiosyncrasies of Bengali living oozed out of every film of Tarun Majumder, irrespective of the social strata. Whether Utpal Datta's white-skin-pleasing Rai Bahadur in Shriman Prithviraj, the Bengali cultural associations in Dadar Kirti, or this inquisitive co-passenger in Chawa Pawa. Just look at the expressions of this man and look at Uttam Kumar at his best.
ব্যাপার কি মশাই?
পরে বলবো।
যা দিনকাল পড়েছে আসল নকল চেনা ধায়।
Majumder could pull off the most original comic set pieces out of nowhere. Uttam says to an unknown stranger that he would explain to him later what's going on. Such subtle laugh-out-loud moments are glittering across the man's filmography as he showed the mirror to the common Bengali, asking to laugh at themselves, and thus celebrating their unique fabric of living. Utpal Datta's iconic comic expressions of nodding to some proposal without registering it in full, only to get stuck by reality in seconds, came into being in Shriman Prithviraj. And the rest, as they say, is history. Likes of Tulsi Chakraborty, Johor Roy, Robi Ghosh or Anup Kumar delivered some of their best works under Majumdar in supporting roles that even eclipsed the leads, beautifully establishing the middle-class Bengali milieu. And the same man was also capable of presenting the dark side of the same society that stands out for its striking depiction of the red light areas and the livelihood of the prostitutes. The love story of Oghor and Rajani investigates the material, emotional and psychological aspects of marginalized living in a prospering metropolis. A highly underrated film that analyzes the political repercussions of its time on top of the social settings that we generally associate with Tarunbabu's films. Ganodevata depicts similar political undertones in the rural setting, including sexual politics that would be common to the feudal society of interior Bengal. A film not shying away in its unabashed portrayal of sexuality wasn't common to Bengali cinema at that time or even today, as Ganodevata stands out in its study of Aniruddha and Durga's relationship purely based on physical attraction. Majumdar was never deterred from presenting things as they are. The narratives might be simple, but were always coming from a point of honesty and morale, bereft of any gaze, or rather, the gaze of another human being belonging to the same coordinates as his characters. And how many times did we refer to the melodies of his films to talk about the brilliance of Tarun Majumder? He was someone unparalleled in his use of songs and music, be the Tagore songs or otherwise. Songs that would carry forward the narrative and not just punctuate the storytelling. It was the way these songs were picturized at precise junctures of the screenplay, always elevating the overall aesthetics. An entire generation visualizes Mohua Roy Chaudhary dancing on stage when they hear Bodhu Kon Alo Laglo Chokhe. And how beautifully the same visual works for Kedar in Dadar Kirti. It was not only Satyajit Ray who added a line of his own to the Tagore tune in Charulata's Ami Chini Go Chini. It was also Tarun Majumdar doing the same in Shriman Prithviraj as Ayan Banerjee sings Golata Mondo Noy after Shokhi Bhabona Kahare Bole. Another beautiful picturization on Mohua. And when the same Shriman Prithviraj dreams of the national song of his kingdom, it's not a Tagore tune or a romantic number. It's Haridasher Bulbul Bhaja from the street seller Robi Ghosh, selling his regular fries. As we say, the man always celebrated his roots, adding up to his Midas touch. It only points at our indifference to cinema as an art form in this country that someone like Tarun Majumdar is hardly known beyond Bengal. Even in Bengal, he stands highly underrated, unrecognized by the new generations, and underappreciated for his contributions to our cinema and sense of aesthetics. We had a chance to talk to him over phone couple of times, requesting for a conversation, which he always denied. I do not want to talk about my films anymore, he said, as we felt how deeply hurt he was inside. Or maybe he didn't need to, as his films speak loud enough about the man and his philosophies. Like the river that keeps on coming back in his films, his legacy flows through our memories, senses, and cinema. That is all from us today. Thank you for watching.